to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Vietnam. Hello, Chriselle. All right, we'll try and get back with Chriselle a little later on today's headlines. Today, President Duterte joined the nation in praying for the Philippines to fully overcome the pandemic. Vietnam's health minister said they've discovered a new COVID variant which spreads quickly by air and is a combination of the Indian and British strains, according to state media. Ukraine's ambassador to Thailand died early Sunday on the southern beach of Koh Lipe while on vacation with his son, according to police, with the cause of death still undetermined. And director Carlo Cuevas and young actor J.C. Sabinorio won the Best Director and Best Actor in a featured film, respectively, for EBC Films' Guerrero 2, Tuloy ang Laban, in the recent awarding ceremonies of the International Film Festival, Manhattan, New York, Spring 2021. President Duterte on Sunday joined the nation in praying for the Philippines to fully overcome the COVID-19 pandemic. In a pre-recorded speech during the virtual interfaith prayer meeting, the president sought divine guidance as the country grapples with the health crisis that has claimed lives of over 20,860 Filipinos so far. Take a look.
Today, we pray as one nation to ask for healing and fortitude during this pandemic. To the Lord, to the Almighty, we humbly seek your grace and blessing. Please heal our land from the illness caused by COVID-19, and you are our only hope and strength amidst these trying times.
Now, he also prayed that the Lord would bless frontliners in the fight against COVID-19. On Sunday, the Department of Health reported 7,058 new infections that brought active cases to 53,757. The recovery tally also climbed to 1,149,010 with 6,852 new survivors.
Weather disturbance Dante has intensified into a tropical storm and will bring rains over parts of Mindanao, the Weather Bureau said Monday. Pag-asa said in its 5 a.m. bulletin that Dante was last tracked 625 kilometers east of Davao City, moving northwest at 15 kilometers per hour. It packs maximum sustained winds of 65 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness up to 80 kilometers over the next 3 days. Dante is expected to intensify in the next 2 days as it continues to move northwest. Caraga, Davao Region, Socsargen, Bukidnon, and Misamis Oriental will experience light to moderate with at times heavy rains due to the outer rain bands of the tropical storm. Isolated to scattered flooding and rain-induced landslides are possible. Nearby areas may also experience flooding in the absence of such rainfall occurrence due to surface runoff or swelling of river channels, Pag-asa said. Metro Manila and the rest of the country are forecasted to experience isolated rain showers caused by localized thunderstorms. Meanwhile, Pag-asa said that the hoisting of tropical cyclone wind signal over any part of the country remains less likely. Moderate to strong winds and moderate to rough seas will prevail over the eastern section of the Visayas and Mindanao. Elsewhere, winds will be light to moderate with slight to moderate seas.
In Vietnam, the health ministry said they've discovered a new COVID variant which spreads quickly by air and is a combination of the Indian and British strains, according to state media on Saturday. Now, the health minister, Nguyen Tan Long, did not specify the number of cases recorded with this new variant. But he said Vietnam will soon announce the discovery in the world's map of genetic strains. The country is struggling to deal with fresh outbreaks across more than half of its territory, including industrial zones and big cities such as Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. More than 6,700 cases, including 47 deaths, have been reported in Vietnam. The lion's share have occurred since April. The new round of infections has made the public and government fearful, and authorities quickly moved to place strict limits on movement and business activity. Cafes, restaurants, hair salons, and massage parlors, as well as tourism and religious spots, have been ordered to close in various areas of the country. Vietnam, a country of 97 million people, has vaccinated a little over 1 million citizens. It's now ramping up its jab rollout and hopes to achieve herd immunity by the end of the year, according to the Minister of Health.
Vietnam began vaccinating hundreds of thousands of factory workers in its industrialized north and on Thursday to combat its largest COVID-19 outbreak so far, days after the country reported a daily record in new cases. Among the hardest hit are the northern Bac Ninh and Bac Giang provinces, home to major factories, including the plants operated by South Korean tech giant Samsung. By late April, Vietnam had recorded under 3,000 cases of COVID-19, but the figure has more than doubled since then. Tuesday saw a daily record of 441 new cases. A further cluster was detected in the country's business hub, Ho Chi Minh City, Wednesday, with more than 30 cases discovered in the community. Vietnam, a country of 90 million people, has vaccinated a little over 1 million of its citizens, but it is now racing to step up in inoculation. It now has close to 2 million doses of AstraZeneca's vaccine remaining, while it has agreed a deal to purchase more than 30 million doses of the Pfizer shot. The country is also in talks with Russia to produce Sputnik V, according to the state media, and it's working on a homegrown vaccine.
In other news, the United States called on Myanmar's military regime to release the American editor of a news outlet based in the coup-hit country who was detained earlier this week as he attempted to board a flight. We are deeply concerned over the detention of U.S. citizen Daniel Fenster, who was working as a journalist in Burma, a State Department spokesperson said in a statement. We have pressed the military regime to release him immediately and will continue to do so until he is allowed to return home safely to his family. Fenster, the managing editor of Frontier Myanmar, was detained on Monday at the international airport in Yangon, Myanmar's main city. His outlet said this on Twitter. Myanmar has been in turmoil since the military seized power in a February 1 coup, with nearly daily protests and a nationwide civil disobedience movement. More than 800 civilians have been killed in an ongoing bloody military crackdown, according to a local monitoring group. The press has been caught in the crackdown as the junta tries to tighten control over the flow of information, throttling internet access and revoking the licenses of local media outlets.
State media, Myanmar has handed out lengthy prison sentences to almost 20 people for torching Chinese-owned factories. According to Chinese state media, demonstrators in the commercial capital Yangon torched dozens of Chinese-owned textile factories in March, costing around $37 million in damage. Twitter accounts of Myanmar pro-democracy groups allege, without offering clear proof, that the army carried out the factory attacks to justify a crackdown in which dozens of protesters died. Beijing, Myanmar's top foreign investor, said 2 employees were also injured and demanded the immediate protection of Chinese citizens and property. On Monday, the junta tribunal sentenced 28 people to 20 years in prison for the attacks on the Myanmar's Rongwei new shoes factory in Yuan Hong Government Factory, Myanmar state media reported Thursday. 19 of the convicted were still on the run, it added. Beijing enjoys exceptional leverage over Myanmar and has refused to label the military action a coup. It supplies Myanmar with military hardware, but observers say it also maintains alliances with some ethnic militias on the long China border that have been fighting the army for decades.
In other news, Malaysian police have taken in for questioning a leading figure in conspiracy circles who's wanted in France over the kidnapping of an 8-year-old girl, according to sources close to the case. Now, French prosecutors last month issued an international arrest warrant for Remy Dailet, who was reportedly lived illegally in Malaysia for several years. The sources said the Frenchman, age 54, was arrested over his residency status and could be expelled, or the authorities could use the warrant, which entails a far lengthier procedure. The girl, identified as Mia, was taken in mid-April from her grandmother's home in France by several men in her mother's employ. 6 men and the mother were indicted over the abduction following an intense 5-day search that ended in Switzerland. According to some of the men, the mother's associates were anti-system activists who claim that children in care are unfairly taken from their parents. Mia's mother had lost custody of her daughter and was no longer allowed to see her alone or speak with her on the telephone. Investigators believe Dailet, known to police as a proponent of extremist conspiracy theories and a populist takeover of the state, may have helped organize the abduction. Dailet is a former regional leader of France's centrist Modem Party before he was excluded in 2010. ASEAN in Focus will be right back after this break.
This portion is brought to you by Security Bank.
Hello there. Imagine Dami got the virus and she infected 2 more. And those 2 infected a lot more of people. And it goes on and on until it became an epidemic. But what if Dami stayed at home? Then those 2 wouldn't have contracted the virus. Then those people would have not been infected. This is not just your battle. It's everyone's, and you can be a huge help. Follow social distancing, or better yet, stay at home.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business.
Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration
To update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights. Sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation,
social entrepreneurship,
and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business From vision to action.
A senior disaster management official has asked the UN World Food Program, or WFP, and the Japanese government to build safe evacuation centers near the Tunnel Sap Lake and along the Mekong River, areas highly vulnerable to flooding during the yearly rainy season, the Ministry of National Defense reported on May 28. The centers are to provide an appropriate temporary emergency shelter to communities at potential risk of flood and other natural disasters. National Committee for Disaster Management, First Vice President Pung Ting said the provinces surrounding Tonle Sap Lake and along the Mekong River are vulnerable to floods. The SEX will help people escape the floods. And I quote, people are normally evacuated to safety during floods, but the dilemma is that when they arrive, they be no shelter, toilets, or clean water, he said. WFP County Director Claire Connan said the building centers would be vital for flood response preparations.
In other news, Ukraine's ambassador to Thailand died early Sunday on the southern beach island of Koh Lipe while on vacation with his son, according to police, with the cause of death still undetermined. Andriy Beshta is a 45-year-old career diplomat who was appointed as Ukraine's ambassador in Thailand in 2016. The National Police said Sunday Beshta was found dead around 5:30 a.m. local time in his room at a hotel resort in Koh Lipe, an idyllic beach island popular with travelers for its crystal blue waters. The medical team first on the scene had worn PPE suits as a precaution to investigate the body, while authorities had questioned the ambassador's son, Ostap, who had shared the room with him. He said his father had gone to bed around 11 p.m. the night before, but had woken up at 4:30 a.m. vomiting before falling unconscious, according to his sana, who added that other witnesses were also questioned. Beshta's body was sent first to a local hospital for an autopsy before it was transported to a police hospital in the Thai capital, Bangkok, for further investigation into his cause of death. He has spent more than a decade of his career in Thailand, according to the embassy's website, arriving first in 2007 as a counselor to the diplomatic mission in Bangkok. He was appointed the embassy's Deputy Director General in 2011, taking over as ambassador in 2016.
Dumaguete Vice Mayor Alan Gil Cordova died Sunday morning after collapsing during the charity bike run event organized by the Philippine Army's 302nd Infantry Brigade. Doctors at the Negros Occidental Provincial Hospital attempted to revive him, but Cordova succumbed to what was initially believed to be cardiac arrest, which led to fatal arrhythmia. He was 53. Cordova joined the bike for a class headed by COL Colonel Leonardo Peña, commander of the 302nd IBDE, and collapsed while riding a bicycle along the National Highway near St. Paul University in this city. He and other participants arrived from Tanjai City, about 30 kilometers north of this capital. Meanwhile, Regional Director Leocadio Zovella of the Department of the Interior and Local Government in Central Visayas, in an interview with the Philippine News Agency, reassured there will be no vacuum left at the City Council following Cordova's death.
In other news, the Philippines has filed a fresh diplomatic protest against China, demanding that it withdraw its vessels from the vicinity of the Pag-asa or 32 Island in the West Philippine Sea. The Department of Foreign Affairs said it fired a protest Friday against the incessant deployment, prolonged presence, and illegal activities of Chinese maritime assets and fishing vessels in the vicinity of the Pag-asa Islands, unquote. The FA also said the Pag-asa Islands is an integral part of the Philippines over which it has sovereignty and jurisdiction. Now, this comes amid continued reports that Chinese vessels remain scattered across the West Philippine Sea, or the part of the South China Sea within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Tensions between Manila and Beijing over the waterway, which China claims almost entirely, flared in March after hundreds of Chinese boats were spotted inside the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. China has ignored a 2016 International Tribunal decision that declared its historical claim over most of the South China Sea to be without basis.
Malaysia announced on Friday it will impose a nationwide lockdown for the first time in over a year as it battles a rapidly escalating coronavirus outbreak that has strained the country's healthcare system. Officials believe more infectious variants have contributed to the surge, as well as gatherings in Muslim-majority country during the holy month of Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr holiday earlier this month. After a new daily record of 8,290 infections Friday, Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin's office announced the entire country would enter a total lockdown from Tuesday. This involves a complete shutdown of all social and economic sectors, with only businesses deemed essential allowed to operate, it said in a statement. The restrictions will be in place initially until June 14.
All right, Chriselle and I will be back right after this break. Stay tuned.
Totoo ang kasabihang may pera sa basura, lalo na kung magagawa ang iba't ibang bagay mula sa mga recyclable material na inaakala ng iba na itatapon na. May ilang barangay sa bansa ang nagre-recycle ng basura at makikita ang iba't ibang bagay na gawa sa basura. Mga dekorasyon sa bahay, sa mga proyektong ito, nagiging malinis ang kapaligiran bukod sa mayroon pang pagkakakitaan.
Earthquakes, tsunami, and typhoons are facts of life in Japan. NHK World Japan has an array of disaster prevention materials to help. Be prepared for the unexpected.
Heavy wind and rain from a powerful
English language newscasts provide updates on emergencies. Further information is available anytime online. When a typhoon approaches, you'll find storm tracking, along with damage reports and related news. Downloading the official app will bring alerts to your digital devices. You'll get first reports and breaking news of disaster-related situations. For languages other than English, live streaming news is subtitled in multiple languages using automatic translation technology. Our radio service delivers multilingual information too. Details in diverse languages are also available on our social media accounts. Disaster prevention is not just about response, it builds the habit of preparation.
It's an expression of bosai, the Japanese word for reducing the risk of disaster damage. Our websites offer experience-based ideas on how to be ready at any time. Answer the questions on the quiz page for information you can use to prepare. The section on How to Craft Safety shows how to make disaster relief goods from everyday objects. Whether you're living in Japan or visiting, rely on NHK World Japan. Stay safe with us.
Welcome back. Here in the Philippines, authorities from the Bureau of Customs and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources have foiled an attempt to smuggle different wildlife species declared as Lego toys from Malaysia. Now this after the BOC port of Ninoy Aquino International Airport, where the Wildlife Traffic Monitoring Unit or WTMU of DENR apprehended the claimant of a package. They contained various wildlife species in the FedEx warehouse in Pasay City on Friday. The Port of Naiya District Collector Carmelita Talusan on Saturday said the package declared as Lego toys came from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And upon examination, it was discovered that 20 sulcata tortoises, 10 razorback turtles, 1 red-bearded dragon, 2 corn snakes, and 8 savanna lizards were concealed with the toys. Now, the BOC said both the claimant and the consignee will face charges for illegal importation of wildlife species under Section 1113 in relation to Section 117 and 1401 of Republic Act 10863 or the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act and Section 27 of RA 9147 or Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act. The BOC, through the leadership of Commissioner Ray Leonardo Guerrero, is in agreement with DNR to uphold wildlife protection and its conservation.
Sri Lankan authorities said they will sue the owners of the Singapore-registered red cargo carrier, which has burned for 11 straight days off the island's west coast and caused some of its worst ever marine pollution. Police said a criminal investigation was also launched into the blaze aboard the MV Express Pearl, which was carrying 25 tons of nitric acid and a huge amount of plastic raw materials. The intense fire, still burning at the rear of the 186-meter or 610 feet vessel, has destroyed much of the cargo, some of which also fell into the Indian Ocean. Tons of microplastic granules have inundated the South Asian nations' famed beaches, forcing a fishing ban and sparking fears of ecological devastation. Sri Lanka's Marine Environment Protection Authority said it met with the Attorney General Sanhaya Raharatnam on Sunday to plan legal action against the owners of the vessel, its crew, as well as the insurers. MEPA Chairman Darshani Lahadapura told reporters in Colombo that they were, however, yet to make an assessment of the environmental damage, but she was believed it was the worst marine pollution Sri Lanka has ever suffered.
In other news, the Manila-based Asian Development Bank has signed a $116 million green loan for 3 wind farms in the central Vietnamese province of Quang Tri, aiming to increase the Southeast Asian country's wind power capacity by 30%. Now, the bank said it was their first financing of a wind power project in Vietnam, adding to the 3 farms in Lian Liap, Phong Huy and Phong Nguyen, owned by Power Construction JSC No. 1 and Renova Incorporated, and they will each have 48 megawatts in capacity. With a total of 144 megawatts, they will help the country meet the rapidly growing demand for energy, that according to the World Bank. Now, or the Asian Development Bank. The loan forms part of a $173 million green loan project financing package arranged and syndicated by ADB as mandated lead arranger and book runner, and is certified by the Climate Bonds Initiative, which administers the International Climate Bond Standard and Certification Scheme. The project will generate an average of 422,000 megawatts of electricity and avoid an average of 162,430 tons of CO2 emissions annually.
The WTO agreed Friday to establish an expert panel to resolve a row between Malaysia and the European Union over rules affecting the consumption of palm oil-based biofuels in the bloc. Malaysia had requested a World Trade Organization arbitration panel back in January, charging that the EU and in the particular member states, France and Lithuania, had imposed restrictive measures on the use of the palm oil that violate international trade agreements. Brussels blocked the initial demand for a panel, but the second request was granted Friday during a meeting of the organization's Dispute Settlement Board, according to a Geneva-based trade official. Under WTO regulations, parties in a dispute can block a first request for a creation of an arbitration panel, but if the parties make a second request, it is all but guaranteed to go through. Malaysia, the world's second largest producer of palm oil, initially filed a complaint with the WTO last July, balking at EU efforts to phase out its use as a biofuel. The EU has embarked on a major plan committing member states to build a carbon-neutral economy by 2050, including by promoting the use of biofuels. But it has deemed that the palm oil production is not sustainable and the palm oil-based biofuels cannot be counted towards EU renewable targets. Palm oil is a key ingredient in a wide range of products, from the food to cosmetics, but it has long been controversial. Environmentalists say it drives deforestation, with huge swaths of rainforest logged in recent decades to make way for plantations.
In other news, Asian investors on Monday struggled to build on last week's gains as profit takers stepped in while awaiting the next buying catalyst, with eyes on the upcoming release of key U.S. jobs data. Still, despite worries that the expected surge in economic activity this year will send prices soaring and force central banks to tighten monetary policy, a forecast-beating jump in a closely watched U.S. inflation gauge was taken in stride. The calm reaction marked a change from recent times, with benchmark 10-year Treasury yields, a key gauge of future interest rates, inching down slightly. Now, all three main U.S. indexes ended Friday with small gains through Asia, though Asia fluctuated. Tokyo, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Sydney, Singapore, and Manila dipped, but there were gains in Seoul, Taipei, Jakarta, and Wellington. And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. We'll be right back.
Impormasyong mahalaga sa taong bayan. Patas na pagbabalita. Papakinggan ang magkabilang panig. Lilinawin ang mga issue at kaagad na ihahatid ng objektibo. Mata ng Agila. Dumadagit ng pinakasariwang pangyayari, hindi lamang sa loob ng bansa, kundi sa iba't ibang panig ng daigdig. Mula sa Eagle News teams at sa tulong ng makabagong teknolohiya, tiyak na makakalap ka agad ang katotohanan. Para sa mas matalas, malinaw at malalimang pagbabalita, ito ang mas pinatalas na Mata ng Agila. Inihahatid ng veteranong broadcast journalist na si Eli Saludar. Kasama si Binibining Pilipinas Intercontinental 2019 Emma Tiglao. At pinangungunahan ng batikang mamamahayag ng bansa Vic De Leon Lima. Mata ng Agila, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 hanggang alas 8 ng gabi, dito sa Net25.
Tawagin na natin ang pinakagwapo, napakagwapo, ladies and gentlemen. Let us all welcome Victor Wood!
Nagustuhan nila Derek at Sir Orly yung performance nyo. Kaya sa next episode, mag-partner na kayo.
Record ka ang sarili mong album. Wala. Hindi papatok yung ganyan style.
Payagan nyo lang ako mag-record uli.
I'm sorry, my love, if I've broken your heart.
Si Arceli nga po pala, fiancé ko.
Hindi ka naman dapat kabahan eh.
To forgive me.
Kapag nakapag-ipon ako, papakasal na tayo.
Ihanda nyo na yung kontrata schedules. Ilalabas na natin to sa buong Pilipinas.
Let me kiss and hold you tight.
Kalahati lang ng TF ni Rico at ni Ray yung TF ko eh.
Kung sino ang mas sikat, yun ang mas may malaking talent fee.
Eh kung kasikatan lang pag-uusapan, masikat naman ako sa mga yan.
Noon yun, Victor. Pero hindi mo inalagaan.
Kaya kong bumangon kahit wala ka.
Back here in the country, Director Carlo Cuevas and young actor J.C. Sabinorio won the Best Director and Best Actor in a Featured Film, respectively, for EBC Films' Guerrero 2 Tuloy ang Laban in the recent awarding ceremonies of the International Film Festival Manhattan in New York, Spring 2021. Joining us live from the U.S., here's MJ Racadio. Hello, MJ.
Hi, Alma.
Hello.
Yes, indeed. A very, very great news for EBC Films that finally Director Carlo Cuevas won Best Director and also J.C. Sabinorio. And let's listen into their speeches.
Okay.
From the Philippines, Guerrero 2, Carlo Ortega Cuevas.
Hi, this is Carlo Cuevas, the writer and the director of the movie Guerrero 2, The Fight Continues from Philippines, produced by EBC Films. I would like to thank our Almighty God and the Iglesia ni Cristo Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Thank you so much for the guidance and support, and thank you for trusting us to be part of this movie. I would also like to thank International Film Festival Manhattan for this recognition. This award means so much to me, and I would like to dedicate this award and congratulate the whole team, especially the cast, the production team, the staff and the crew. And we worked hard for this with the guidance of our Almighty God. Again, thank you, Sir Luis Pedron, for creating a venue for our film, where we can showcase our movies, where we can tell stories, where we can inspire people, especially in this time of pandemic. And again, thank you so much for this award, and keep safe, everyone, and God bless us all.
And the nominees for Best Actor Feature Film from the Philippines, from Guerrero Dos, actor Art de Guzman. From the Philippines, Guerrero Dos, actor Julio Cesar Sabenorio. And from the USA, Angel Mountain, Daniel Grogan. And the winner is... from the Philippines, from Guerrero Dos, Julio Cesar Sabenorio.
I'm so happy and honored to receive this award. I thank the Lord God and His Son, the Lord Jesus, for these blessings. I would like to thank as well Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, the Executive Minister of the Iglesia ni Cristo, for his guidance. To my family, thank you for your love and support. And to Mr. Luis Pedron and the International Film Festival Manhattan, thank you for creating a wonderful way to show Filipino talent.
Mandirigma, matatapang, hindi po iyakin. Guerrero! Guerrero! Dapat palagi yung kinakausap yung kuya mo, ha? Ano ginawa ko? Di tulog na tulog, ha?
Pagising laga.
Alam mo, kuya, hindi ko inakala magiging masaya ako dito sa ospital. Halos lahat ng tao dito, naging kaibigan ko na.
Yes, also with honorable mention, as you heard it, that Art de Guzman is also honorable mention as Best Actor, as well as Mia Suarez as honorable mention as well. Now, currently the IFFM is being played right now until end of the month. So IFFM is actually committed in showcasing entertaining and diverse films in all genres and scope to equal diversity of New York. And it also committed in exploring all opportunities to promote the artist, his work, his vision, and his cause, and he has any during the showing of the films and the events during the festival. And also, aside from Guerrero Dos, Alma, there's a good news for the Jukebox King. It's also another project for EBC Films.
Tawagin na natin ang pinakagwapo, napakagwapo, ladies and
Jukebox King is expected to excite movie audiences as it brings them into the time warp of a great music of the 70s, with the heartaches and life lessons of the man who ruled the airwaves in his time. So, unfortunately, Victor Wood has passed away. But he's always been remembered, and his legacy lives on. Alma?
All right. Thank you very much, MJ, for your report. And yes, his legacy will live on forever. Thank you very much, MJ. And I'll see you back later for Eagle News International for more showbiz news.
Absolutely. MJ Riccati here from California. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Alma.
Thank you.
Lanito Donaire used a powerful left hook and 3 knockdowns to become the oldest fighter to win a bantamweight title, with a 4th-round knockout of WBC champion Nordine Ubali on Saturday night in Los Angeles. The 38-year-old Donaire reached up and turned back hands at the Dignity Sports Health Park venue as he reclaimed the WBC title that he held in 2011.
They already see what I'm close from him because he's a very good fighter. You know, you don't become a world champion by not being a good fighter. He was great, and I had to kind of figure out what I need to do to sacrifice. And I said to myself that, well, in order for me to really land this punch, I have to sacrifice getting hit with the straight to land my hook, and that's what happened, you know. And I tasted his power. I'm like, I can do this. I tasted his power again. I'm like, okay, I can definitely do this. And that I'm here to fight anybody, and I've always been that person. But my main goal is get the rematch, and then getting the undisputed champion or whatever it is. You know, for me, is the ultimate is being undisputed.
Right. So the order doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Après, au premier abord, sur les 2 premiers rounds, ça se passait bien, même limite trop bien. Donc je me suis peut-être démobilisé un peu et c'est là qu'on sait qu'en boxe, sur un coup, tout peut arriver. Il m'a touché à la tempe et puis quand tu es touché à la tempe, qui que tu sois, ça fait mouche. Donc,
and you know, I'm in there. I'm more to come.
Thanks, amigo, man. Very proud of you. You did great, man.
Thank you guys. Smiling too much, you know. Nah, ultimately, it's being healthy. Just being healthy.
Donaire knocked the French champion down twice in the 3rd round and then finished him off halfway through the 4th round with a stinging uppercut to raise his record to 41-6 with 27 knockouts in the 3rd round. Donaire scored his first knockdown with the 2 consecutive left hooks that led to referee Jack Race giving Ubali a standing 8 count. Ubali got up but was still in a fog and defenseless when the Filipino dropped him a second time with a devastating left as the bell sounded to end the round. Donaire ended the fight in the 4th by landing a combination followed by an uppercut that sent Ubali the canvas for the 3rd time.
Now, Japan thrashed Myanmar 10-0 on Friday to cruise into the 3rd round of the Asian World Cup qualifying. Around 70 protesters, though, gathered before the kickoff outside the stadium in Chiba, near Tokyo, carrying pictures of detained Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi, and they were also waving flags from the country's 1988 uprising. TV pictures showed a lone Myanmar player raising the Hunger Games-inspired 3-fingered salute commonly used by the protesters. Now, 5 goals for Yuya Osako helped Japan clinch top spot in Group F, with 2 games to spare against a makeshift Myanmar side, missing several regulars who boycotted the qualifiers in protest at the coup. Goalkeeper Kiao Zin-tet opted out for the trip and urged the players who traveled to raise the 3-finger salute. The national anthems passed off without incident, but TV cameras captured a Myanmar player wearing a pink bib making the gesture. Now, Myanmar manager earlier, Antoine Hay, said he did not see the incident but was aware of the protests outside the stadium.
Filipino weightlifter Heidelin Diaz, who took silver at Rio 2016, has been stuck in Malaysia since February last year because of the coronavirus pandemic, but is determined to realize her dream of becoming the first Olympic gold medal winner from the Philippines.
I want to train there, but with the guidance of my coach, they don't want me, because if I will be there, I won't really focus in weightlifting. I won't be focusing in Olympics.
Okay lah. Why? Why?
We have no place to stay anymore in KL because of pandemic, and we're here because this is a place that we think like more stable during this time.
If you don't feel good, then, you know, go here. Take away. Order take away. Tapaw.
postponing the Olympics for another 1 year, it's hard already for us mentally, physically, because like we sacrifice a lot. We sacrifice our life with the family, our time with our family, our time to, we decided to focus only doing the sports.
Thank you, Chriselle, for keeping me company today. Oh, by the way, my deepest condolences to the passing of your grandfather.
Thank you, Alma.
Thank you.
Yes, as always, I'm very grateful to be part of this program. Thank you for having me. Once again, I am Chriselle Yacuna from ABC Vietnam Bureau. We live in interesting times.
And we'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.